Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Bachelorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Bachelorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
If you subscribe on patreon.com/thecatchlerette-pod, you get early access to episodes, not to mention keeping the pod alive for as little as $1 a month. Subscribe now. Patreon.com/thecatchlerette-pod. Hello and welcome to the Bachelorette and Friends. I'm your host, Carla Anita Matiazzo, and today's guest is a singer and writer. He's a life and leadership coach, TV host, and voiceover dude. Welcome to the podcast, Aaron Boykin.
Thank you. That was quite an introduction. I appreciate that. Like, man, that sounded a lot cooler on paper.
Thanks for coming on. It's so nice to have you.
Absolutely.
So let's start with your first crush. Aaron, can you tell us the story of your first crush?
If we're going to get into it, let's get into it. So this is something I don't tell a lot of people, but and it might tell you a little, I don't know, maybe it'll tell you more or less about me, but my very first crush was actually Judy Garland.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was in love with Judy Garland when I was younger. She was just the nicest, sweetest, most, you know, at least on camera, that's the way it appeared. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But, and as you can imagine, look, I didn't come from a neighborhood where it's popular to be in love with Judy Garland. So
that's fair.
I haven't told many people that, but I'm good now. I'm old enough. It's fine, right?
No one's going to judge you. If they do, I've got Italian background, Aaron. I'll just send the mafia onto them and you'll be fine.
All right, I'm going to hold you to that. I might reach out to you for that.
So the obvious things for me, from what I understand about you, it would have been, yes, her on-camera persona and the fact that she could sing and dance. That's what I'm assuming drew you to her.
It's definitely part of it, but if I'm being honest, I think like that was one of the first exposures that I've ever had to seeing someone just like super, super, super nice. And, you know, it's really interesting. I don't know, you know, I've had my own experiences with like being bullied and all that. So you kind of, you know, I didn't realize it at the time or what actually drew me to her, but she was just really super nice. And I was like, I've never seen somebody so nice. I love her. So
was there any role in particular? Was it Dorothy? What was it? What
it was
role
Dorothy.
was it? Okay.
It was Dorothy for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like, does this actually exist in the world? You know, I just didn't, you know, beyond my neighborhood, I was like, I've ran the gamut of like nice. And that was just a new layer. So that was cool to, I guess, figure out about myself.
Well, that's beautiful though. I like that. I really like that. And
do you think differently of me now?
No, not at all. I like the fact that the crush was on her personality. Like that's what drew you. Like that was the attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if we're
That's
going to
typically
be
my thing. Yeah.
because if we're going to be stereotypical about men, that's not the first thing I would think that a man would say about a crush.
That's a fair assumption. You get points for that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what from that crush did you think that your expectations on the love that you attract or that you wanted in the future, did you shape your expectations around the sweetness and the joy that was Judy Garland? Do you think that set up a basic pedestal for you to go, okay, that's the type of woman that I want?
I never thought about that, but that I have to think it did, right? Like that, it kind of makes sense, you know? I think, you know, yeah, I think from that point on, I was definitely like, I want somebody I just want someone who's nice. And I don't mean like flowery all the time, you know, nobody's perfect. Everybody's got their own stuff. Yeah, I think it definitely set a certain expectation for how at least I want to be treated, you know, in that regard. So, yeah, for a while there, it didn't turn out that way. Or I didn't, you know, you meet a bunch of people and you're like, oh, so I'm crazy is what's happening.
Why would that be the next connection in your brain, that I'm crazy for wanting? No, why?
Well, of course, I know that. Like now, I know that's silly, but for a long time I was like, oh, well then I must be, you know, I must have been dreaming way too long, and I started to wake up, and then like you kind of get yourself involved with people who don't reflect that. Is what I'll say. So, you know, it's a journey. You live and you learn, and but more importantly, you learn how to have people treat you. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do.
It's I think that's a harder lesson that I had to learn, is like, regardless of whether we think so or not, we actually teach people how to treat us.
Fuck yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
what
we do.
Allow, what we let happen.
Yes, we do.
So,
yes,
yeah.
we do. On that
You know.
point, I think it's always an evolving thing. I know for me it is reminding myself of that exact point. I'm actually teaching people how I'd like to be treated. One, by the way I treat myself, and the way that I treat other people. Right. Do you think, and I'm 50-50 on this, do you think that karma plays a part in that point that you've made? Do you feel like, because as I was saying it out aloud to you, I was thinking, it very much sounds like, I know I'm not explaining this very well, Aaron, but I'm 50-50 with the karma stuff. So
I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I land on that? I think it depends on, so look, to each their own, right? Do I believe in karma? Yes, to a certain degree.
Okay.
But in terms of like relationships and possibly dating, I think what karma, quote unquote, what it might actually do is create blind spots for you.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
I mean?
Unpack that for me.
So really, yeah, what I really mean by that is like, it's kind of like the idea where, you know, for example, let's say you had a previous not you per se, but you have a previous relationship where someone was, might have been cheating. Someone might have treated their partner in a way that that led the relationship to end. What I have come to find is like, then those actions actually become a part of your blind spot sometimes, not all the time. So, you know, like you don't really become super present to the way that you're being treated in similar ways, but they might look slightly different. They might be intellectualized. They might be gaslighting. They might be, you know, just straight up lying to you. So I think it's just easier to disguise those things when you're guilty of those things in the past. And especially if they look different, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. But I've just never thought of it like that. That's really interesting.
I think it's, you know, so it might not come the same way if you were unfaithful in your previous relationship, and I might not be like you happen to open your partner's laptop and you found a random text or something like that. What it might be is, like maybe they kind of skew the timeline so that it seems like, oh yeah, and what are you talking about? Oh, we're together. We were together. We weren't together. What do you mean? Like, it's intellectualized in a way that might not be apparent. So
Yeah, I'm going to say something really sexist here.
uh-oh. Hold on, let me hold on to my chair. Go for it.
What you just said there about the skewing of the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be really careful how I say this.
Ain't no careful. Go ahead, do it.
Do you think that's a more male thing to do? Or do you think it is a commitment phobe thing to do?
I think the answer is yes. I think it's both, actually.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think if you have a fear of commitment, you're definitely going to take some liberties there with some timelines and make things seem a little different. And I think men as a whole, I would probably say that's true for men more frequently than women, for sure.
Do you think it's an inbuilt biological thing that's been there? Because there's some things about our bodies as humans that have not evolved, right?
Sure.
And yeah, do you think that that's an inbuilt biological thing that men are still, wanting to spread their seed far and wide and populate the world? What do you think?
Some thoughts. What I think in both cases where it's maybe a commitment phobe or men more than women, I actually think it's just a trauma response.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
I actually think it's there has been some pain or something in the past that actually has you either not own what you actually want or have you afraid of, being quote unquote locked down. That's what I hear a lot of men say is like, I'm being locked down or something, or like the old adage of the ball and chain, like stuff like that. Like people still kind of relate to it in that regard. And I think if you don't take care of that trauma, it's going to come out in ways like that. Or it's going to be karma, you know what I mean? Quote unquote.
Yeah.
So,
there's two things.
I broke it.
No, there's two things I want to say about that. Mm-hmm. One is I feel like, and I've seen it in action, religion has a lot to play in the ball and chain, old school
right.
views on what a relationship, marriage should be. And I've seen it play out in fucking ceremonies. And it just fucking kills me.
Yeah, man.
Then the karma thing again. I've heard some people say on previous episodes that I've done that they feel like each relationship seems to go in a pattern of if you've been broken up with in that relationship, then the next relationship you'll do the breaking up. Do you think, okay, I've just thrown two fucking massive different things at you. So do you want to hit the religion thing first and then we'll hit the assumption of pattern of breakup?
Sure. So when you say the religion has an impact on like being committed, I would say that's totally true. It looks a very specific way in a lot of religions, whether it's arranged, whether it's wait until a certain age or you can't and before you've had sex, are all right. Yeah. Grown, major grown. It's all of it. And it makes it very, very tough. I imagine if you're trying to be, in a relationship, especially with someone of a different religion, I don't know what those complications are, but I imagine there are more than there are less. So
wouldn't you just pull the pin? I'd just be like, nah, too fucking hard.
Me personally, no. I typically like to find I love that shit. I love finding the challenges like that and putting pieces together that shouldn't quote unquote traditionally go together.
Yeah, but that's because you're willing to do that work. So many people would just find the drama in that and stay in that fucking spiral and then not. Yeah. So I think because you're giving a different lens to it, the knee-jerk assumption that I would have would be
fuck it.
Too hard basket, too many. Like I could just see like families because it's never, very rarely in those situations, from what I understand, very rarely is it the actual couple that has the issues with the difference of religion or the difference of whatevers. It's usually the family, like the outer circle, like their parents, their immediate family, that fuck the shit up.
Right. Yeah, and you're right about that. I think at that point, that's when it becomes super, super important to get clear on what you're committed to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And what I really mean by that is like, it's easy to get caught up in the shit of the now, but think about where you ultimately want to be in 5 years, 10 years. Like, and however that looks in 5 or 10 years, what are your actions doing now to actually garner or get you there to your goal? So
I love that.
You know what I mean, though? Like, it's just like, sure, yes, the work is hard. And you know, I don't want to make this sound like I'm coming at your opinion or nothing like that, because it's definitely not. But
no.
It's always interesting to me when people, you know, walk in, they're like, it's like walking in a room and there's, you know, a big mess and clothes and trash all over the floor. And then they were like, nope, I'm out of here. And you turn around, turn off the light and leave. As opposed to like, okay, well, it's a really nice room. And people are going to hear this through the lens of like fixing somebody. Definitely not what I'm talking about. Two different things.
That's exactly what I just thought straight away.
You know what I mean? But it's less about fixing and more about like, am I willing to just pick up a few clothes here? Am I willing to pick up this trash and throw it in the bin?
If it's a team of people, if it's the team willing to do the work together, 100% on board. But if it's somebody walking in on an existing fucking mess and the other person is expecting them to fix it, nah.
Of course. Right. And back to the original thing that I said, I actually think it's all trauma based. You know what I mean? It's just all around work that hasn't been done to take care of that trauma. I have it, you have it, we've all got shit.
Yeah.
And it's evident when people don't take care of their fucking shit.
Yes.
Yes. So.
Yes. Fucking yes.
I don't know if that made any sense, but.
Oh, it did. It did. And I've just got like a slideshow in my head of all the, dates, not all, but the alarming dates that I've been on where I have seen that trauma come out in conversation or scenario or whatever that have been too much for me to handle. So,
right.
It's interesting.
Totally understand that.
Yeah, man. Yep.
You know, I forgot what I was watching, but I saw someone who's I think she was still like currently dating, and one of the things that she always asks a potential partner is, I forgot how I'm going to butcher it now because I have to remember it, but I think she said something to the effect of like, are you aware that you have trauma in your life? And if you are or not, what have you done to satisfy said trauma? Like that is a question that she asks on a date. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I like this woman. Yeah.
At first I was like, that's a little extreme, but if you think about it, fuck that. Like if you want to talk about like getting into it and talking about it, I think that's a great question to ask on the first date. You know, especially if you're not looking to just hang out and have some fun. If you're looking for an actual partner, that's a totally justifiable question to ask. What trauma are you aware of your trauma? What are you doing to satisfy it? Are you going to therapy? Are you talking about it? So.
Oh my God, Aaron, I so love that you brought that up. So recently, and I think I may have mentioned this to you, I'm not sure. I cannot remember. But recently I was set up on a date with a guy.
Nice.
No.
Not nice. I mean, I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
It was not. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
so exactly what you were saying there about that question and the trauma, and do you recognize or do you do any inner work on yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, on this date, it was very fucking clear that there was some trauma, as everybody, like you said, everybody's got trauma.
Right.
And my question actually was, so have you done any work on yourself to relieve you from your limitations? Because it was very clear that this dude likes to stay in his box and does not like to try anything new, like very a limited life because it's comfortable and it's safe.
Right.
And he looked at me like I had just said something extremely offensive. Then my next question was, so do you unpack your relationships when you end a relationship, and do you work out where you think you contributed to the end of the relationship and the strengths and weaknesses on both sides for both people in a relationship? He's like, no, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. This has been fun. It is time to go. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah. And then the next bit was me saying pretty much exactly what you said about therapy. Therapy's really been beneficial for me. It's really helped me, keeps my mental health in check, helps me get rid of my limitations, blah, blah, blah. I went down that road.
Yeah.
And his response was, Aaron, are you ready? Are you ready for what he said?
I'm already mad. I'm already upset.
He goes, therapy is for crazy people, and it is like getting your tarot cards read. I was like, what? Sorry? What did you say?
Oh, are you kidding me? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So no self-awareness at all, like none.
Yeah.
So
I said, you'll be seeing him again?
Oh, fuck no. Fuck no. So my towards the end of the conversation, and I think I was pretty gracious and generous. I gave him an hour and a half.
I gave him some time.
I think I was pretty generous. With where the fucking conversation was going, Aaron, I think, I probably should have pulled it earlier. Towards the end of it, I said to him, so how do you think you're going to be able to attract the right person and know what you bring to the table in a relationship if you don't know who you are?
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I fucking know who I am. Okay.
Spoiler alert. Anybody who answers like that probably doesn't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah. I was like, thanks for the peppermint tea. I think I've got some stuff to do.
That's interesting. It's, from a coaching perspective, there's a lot to unpack there. And I think one of the first questions I might ask from that perspective is firstly, what has someone get upset about that? Asking about your well-being and your health and checking in with them. What has you get angry? And not you per se, but what has this person get upset by the fact that you asked that?
Because I think there's so much shit that has not been touched, and he spent a whole lot of time popping pills and getting high, like just numbing himself out for a lot of his existence, which resulted in a really devastating health issue.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but brought on by lifestyle. I think because there's to me, that defensive knee-jerk reaction from him, and so in some of the conversation also saying to me, well, what's wrong with you? You've been single for such a long time. If you've been doing so much work, what's wrong with you? And that defensiveness and deflection tells me that it's too hard to look below the surface.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it sounds like you didn't want to look below the surface anyway. Like from that point, I can understand, especially someone who's willing to be so aggressive about an answer like that.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sure you probably realized this, but you realized that was all his shit and not your shit, right? Like,
you hear?
Yeah, which is hard to be with in the moment, you know.
Look, it is, but that's something I've been working on a lot lately, Aaron, is working out where it resonates in my body, because I'm very, like, I feel shit in different parts of my body, yeah?
Yeah.
So working out when somebody's saying something and you are like, what the fuck, where did that come from? That's got nothing to do with me. Like working out how that feels in my body when it's their shit, and then working out how it feels when somebody else is doing something that makes me feel like, oh, fuck, that's really irritating. That's my problem. That's my problem. Yeah, so working out the difference between a projection and then something that's actually my problem.
Right. I think another part of that. Thank you for sharing, by the way.
Good, dude.
It's I think another thing that a lot of people don't acknowledge, whether it's in a relationship or not, is you have needs. So like the thing that this is out of the realm of a coaching conversation, but it's definitely more in whatever the fuck Aaron thinks. I would say consider that there's a need that isn't being met, whether it's maybe you need some quiet, maybe you need some peace, maybe you need your partner not to, do whatever they're doing right there, but either way, there's a need that needs to be met. Is it up to you to change their behavior? Of course not. That's ridiculous, right? But it is up to you to stand for what you need. Otherwise, we can't blame it on that other person. And I think that's what happens in a lot of relationships. Needs aren't getting met and they're being disguised as you're doing something wrong, other partner. Yeah. As opposed to, argument about dishes is not an argument about dishes. No. It's an argument about needs not being met.
So how would you then, pardon me, how would you then approach that?
I think from that place, if you can have a conversation from what you need as opposed to what the other person isn't doing for you, then what I think you ultimately do is you leave the choice up to them. You know what I mean? So yeah, right. So for example, hey, the dishes weren't done. I don't want to make it about the dishes. I notice this happens a lot in our relationship. And my request is we figure out something where we can work together to not make this happen because I have some needs that aren't being met. Yeah. And that's how I would do it. It's actually taking the time and getting clear on what you actually need. To your point, to exactly what you just said, it changes the color of the conversation. It's like, the analogy that I always use, especially when goal setting, is like, there's a difference between getting into a taxi and saying, take me to 906 5th Street, across the street from the park and the fountain, versus, hey, take me there, cab driver. Your cab driver's gonna look at you and go, excuse me, what the fuck you just, no, take me there. The more specific you are, the more clear the map becomes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're just fucking throwing darts at closing your eyes and throwing darts at a dartboard. Yeah, yeah, exactly. If that makes any sense. It does. My next question on that scenario is, sure. And I kind of know what you're going to say, I think, but I'm still going to ask it because I want to hear you unpack it. So say one person, and from my experience, I wouldn't get myself into a situation like this again because I know too much about myself and what works for me and what doesn't. However, I'll paint a hypothetical scenario. Say if, even though it's based on real life experience and maybe some past shit, so say if... Got you. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Got it. So if one person is switched on, aware, and is able to come at uncomfortable conversations
with things that are triggering them in the way that you are doing, but the other person refuses to get on board with communication in that vein and just sees any sort of complaint, no matter how it is delivered and how calm and rational and peaceful you are when you come to them with the issue, they close up ranks and go, I'm sick of the fucking drama. I'm sick of talking about what you need, what you don't want, what you like, blah, blah, blah. I'm out.
Right.
What do you do? Yeah.
Come in real close. You ready for this? All right. Chances are that person is not for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Look, the bottom line is anybody who's unwilling to communicate about their needs or your needs, or like in my opinion, is that's not any place I want to be. So I can't imagine anybody who'd want to be in a place where their needs are not getting met.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot different. I don't want to make it sound like, you know, I need you to pick up your sock and you're not doing it because that's what I fucking need. Right? That's different than, hey, I'm intentionally trying to keep this room clean.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm talking about me, I'm a very anxious anxiety person. Like I'm an anxiety man, straight up. So for me, it might look like, hey, I know it sounds crazy, taking responsibility for myself, right?
Yes.
I know it sounds a little out of the box, but that actually makes me super anxious. And if there's anything we can do about that, I would really like to figure something out together to make that happen. I'm not coming at you. It's not your fault. Because you're going to do, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it. And anybody who's not willing to have that conversation, I wouldn't be there for.
And it's interesting, Aaron, and thank you for sharing that, because you and I have anxiety in common. And I think that's why I like things to be in their place, neat and tidy, clean and shit around my house, because that gives me control over something and that makes me feel peaceful.
Sure. Here's the other thing, though. There's a caveat to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just like we have to, well, firstly, I should say, like, I think there's a large part about getting responsible as well for yourself. So in addition to getting responsible for what your needs are, it's getting responsible for what I'd say is your humanity, the things that make you tick, the things where your triggers kind of come in and you don't mean to, getting responsible about it. Hey, I know I tend to lose my shit when I see this sock on the floor. Acknowledgement, baseline acknowledgement. Whether you're crazy, quote unquote, or not, it's not for them to say. Yeah. You're human just like they are. Yeah. And the caveat is, just like you reserve the right to be responsible about losing your shit, they also get the same courtesy of leaving socks on the floor, right? It's not a one-way street, right? Correct. So that's when the conversation about what do we really want becomes the sole focus. Like, that's why it becomes so important. Yeah, and that's really good. That reminds me of something you said a bit earlier about looking into the future and working out what you want, like, you know, 5-10 years down the track. Yeah. From my experience, men are scared to project into the future with you. Like with me, as in, like, from my experience, I have attracted relationships. I'm trying to be real careful with that. I hear you know. Hit it. Yeah, I've attracted some relationships that have given a false sense of what the future will bring to keep me around. And then as time pushes on, still dangling the carrot of the things like, yes, one day I'd like to get married. Yes, one day I'd like to be a mum. Like they're things, yes, I may not fall into the traditional subscription of what a wife and what a wedding would be and all that kind of shit, but that's, you know, up to the individual. Right. Why, and I think I know what you're going to say again. I think it's about these guys were just not right for me, and that's why. And people have the right to change their fucking mind. Obviously, I know that. Like, I know that. But
It seems to be, and it may be a cultural thing. You can tell me if I'm wrong. It may be an Australian men thing.
Okay.
Speaking of the future or planning for the future is not something that I've heard really men do, and the relationships, majority of the marriages and babies and stuff, majority, not everybody. There's a lot of couples around me that the men feel like they just married the person and had kids with the person because that was important to them, so they did what that person wanted.
Right.
Instead of, is that important to you? You're going to be a shit husband and a shit dad if that's not really on your agenda and what you want. Like, what the fuck?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I imagine there's a high possibility of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question is.
I don't know if I even asked a question, but
no worries. No, I hear where you're coming from. Well, I mean, look, anybody who's going to dangle any type of carrot in front of you and then take it away at the last second, that's just a fancy way of saying lie. That's a lie. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Or rather, I say it's a lie if you don't own it, and own it in a way that makes it clear that you're not sure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's really what I mean. So there's another side piece to that as well. But I think a conversation like that is all about ownership, straight up ownership. You know, I've tried to be as clear as I possibly could in any relationships that I wasn't always very good at it, and I will own it. I've never been perfect, and I'm sure I'm still not.
Man. Yeah.
You know, so it's it's an ongoing practice to own that type of stuff.
Yeah.
For example, you ask me, what do I want in 10 years? I couldn't tell you, but I'm not going to lie to you. You know, do I want to get married someday? I think so, eventually. But I would never say I definitely want to get married to you.
Unless you're proposing, don't even. So this is my thing. This goes on to promises. I fucking can't stand promises, because the majority of the time when I hear a dude say, I promise at the end of fucking something, it's something that they're not going to deliver on. If you feel like you have to promise something instead of just acting on it when it happens, then fuck off with your promises. I don't want to know about it. I just don't. I don't want to hear it. It triggers me, makes me angry, because it's something that I've experienced in the past. For example, I'll give you an exact scenario of how my longest relationship ended. So in the show, he's Prince Charming. I talk about him as Prince Charming in my cabaret show that I've got. I don't say to the audience how we broke up, because I want them to reflect on their relationships. I don't give them that answer. So the truth is, he wrote me pages. He wrote me a letter that was lots of pages. For some reason, 7 pages stick in my mind, but I could be wrong about the amount of pages. He took a couple of days at his sister's place to put this together, right?
Oh, boy. He
came back. We sat at the kitchen table. Actually, first, he wanted to go for dinner. And I'm like, can we just get this... Like, can we just have this conversation? I cannot sit and enjoy dinner with you with all this, like, I don't know if we're still together, what's going on. But he insisted on that we go for dinner. So I could hardly eat because my emotions were all over the shop. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And at that time, Aaron, I didn't have enough self-worth and enough value in myself to set boundaries that allowed me to feel safe and to feel fulfilled in this relationship. So this is partly my fault for giving him so much power in the decisions in our relationship.
Quick question for you.
Yes, darling.
Have you forgiven yourself for that?
Oh, shit. Probably not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if you've actually taken the time to I'm not saying you didn't do the work or anything like that. What I'm saying is it might be in your blind spot. Have you given yourself a chance to forgive yourself?
No. That's going to make me cry. No, I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let myself off the hook very much.
I get a little bit of that.
Oh, fuck. Aaron.
Awesome.
Don't.
What is great, guys? Take it easy. Have a good night. No.
No, that's good. Thank you for saying that to me, because no, I have not. And I have not even remotely even thought about that.
Well, we all deserve it, and that includes you.
Oh, Aaron, thank you for saying that, because I thought the epiphany for me just was realizing that there was no self-worth, self-esteem, because that was a massive epiphany for me. But I did not, and I have not even thought I have to forgive myself for not having it and allowing things to drag on when they shouldn't have dragged on. So thank you. That's a massive gift. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. I hope it helps. Look, man, you know, what's the saying? What the hell is it? If you spot it, you got it. That's what it is. If you spot it, you got it. Which meaning I've been there. I'm still there, I'm sure, and in a few different ways. So you're definitely not alone.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
that's
we deserve
just hit me real fucking hard. Aaron. Oh, Lord.
Sorry.
No, don't be. Thank you. No, that's such a beautiful thing that you've pointed out. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Just a little. It was on my heart to say, so I said it.
Oh God, I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah. I imagine things look different if we don't take the time to forgive ourselves for things like that. I know it has for me. So.
Shit, yeah.
You know, like how future dates might look or future relationships might look.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
because I'm very good at deconstructing and analyzing once a relationship is over, and I'm very much about, okay, this is my ownership and this is where I went wrong and this is what I want to work on and what I want to improve in myself. But I never think about forgiving myself ever. And maybe
that's the hard part.
Yeah, honestly. But maybe that's the Catholic thing. Maybe that's the Catholic guilt that I've been brought up on, which it's still hanging around in the back of my, subconscious.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of the guilt, and especially being a Catholic woman, I'm not Catholic anymore, but growing up being Catholic, like women are the original sin, like Eve ate the apple, all that fucking bullshit. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not a woman, but I'm sure there's a lot that comes with even just that.
Yeah.
Not in the several layers that you just talked about on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, look, give yourself a fighting chance to love yourself more.
Fuck, you're excellent, Aaron. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So much.
Hey, I mean it, man. Yeah, for real. I believe in that for everybody. So. Yeah,
this is brilliant. I feel like I need to make a badge and wear it and be like, fuck everybody else. Like, this is me now. You got to deal with it. So the dinner happened, came home, sat at the dinner table, and he read this letter to me out loud. And I was crying. One, because it was a release of, oh my God, I've been holding on for the last few days because I didn't know where this was going and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I was crying because he was saying all the things I wanted to hear. So in my mind was going, yes, you're getting everything you've always wanted. But my gut was going, I don't know if this is legit. I don't know if, like, so there was a big separation of I'm hearing what he knows I really want, but my gut's going, he's not going to deliver on it, right?
Mm.
So that happened. And then...
You all right over there?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just looking back now. I'm just, with the lens of forgiveness, I do need to forgive myself, Aaron, because really disappointed in how I responded to the very ending stages of this relationship. So this letter basically said we were going to get married, we were going to have kids, how our life was going to look, what we were going to achieve, where we were going to travel, all that kind of stuff. It was a lovely letter in fucking theory, yeah?
On paper. It's always
on paper, yeah. So then a couple of months later, now when you get this gut feeling that something's fucking off. So for about maybe a few weeks, I was doing extra stuff around the house, and I was finding that I was putting extra effort on top of what I already did to please get attention and all that kind of stuff. So my subconscious was already telling me I'm already having to push myself out of my comfort zone of giving to get this guy's attention.
Right.
And then one day he was in the shower and he left a message open. And this message started off with, I thought it was he'd booked a hotel room for us, and he was going to propose. And this was, so at the start of me reading this message, I was like, oh shit, this is how it's going to happen. And I have to pretend I don't know.
Yeah.
As I kept reading the message, it was an open inspection for a house to look at. And I was like, but we're not moving. So
Interesting.
What the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
So I went to him and I was like, you left a message open. You're going to look, because then I was thinking there was a speck of doubt in me that was going, is he looking at a house for us to move to and he's surprising me with it? Like there was a speck of that. But then I was like, I just saw this message on your phone. I don't understand. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
His response literally was, I'm leaving. That was it.
Whoa.
That was it. And then I obviously burst into tears and I went into, and I wish I didn't do this, but I went into but I love you so much. I can't live without you. I don't understand. And I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't do that, because his response was closing off. He literally did not speak to me. The words were just, I'm leaving. And that was it.
That was the last thing.
That was it.
Wow. Well, that sucks. I'm really sorry.
Oh, well, fuck. Yeah, it did.
That's not fun at all.
But what I don't understand is why the effort of the letter a couple of months before with all this stuff when I could feel already that he was on his way out. So why do that? And then a couple of weeks after we broke up, he gave me a letter blaming me for everything. And the shit didn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're right. So I'm probably going to say a couple things you might not love too much.
No, go ahead.
The first thing that I'll say is I'm sure you have to know this has nothing to do with you, right? As much as you made it about. I know
that now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It's another thing that it's tough to grasp in the moment.
Yeah.
It's always tough to grasp in the moment. I think the real answer is I don't know, and I don't want to know, and I don't think you should either.
Yeah.
And here's why. Well, let me ask you a question. What do you actually want to know? Like why he did it? Or do you feel like you need to know? Do you feel like like justification I need to know? Like, what is it actually going to give you?
Yeah, good question. Actually, neither. Like, because this was like, I'm just doing the maths in my head. I'm trying to work out how long ago we broke up. 6-7 years ago. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I've like detached from the yearning to find out, because I did, like when we broke up and when he came and got his stuff, because it was my family house, when he came and got his stuff, and there was a couple of times where we slept together, which I wish we didn't, because, you know, that, again, self-worth, no self-worth. If I had it, I would have gone, fuck you, mate. I don't give a shit if you're attracted to me now that we're broken up. You can go get your pussy elsewhere. I'm not interested. But obviously I didn't do that.
Sounds like you're a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're human. You know, we've all been there. I mean it, man. We make it so unique. Like, man, I fucked up and I did the thing I shouldn't have done. Well, yeah. If you take it that way, you could beat yourself up forever.
Yeah. No.
Also, you could throw a stone and hit a number of people who've done the same thing or have gone about it the same way. So it's just, you know, you got to forgive yourself for being human. You got to.
I feel like this needs to be made into a t-shirt or fucking something, and I need to wear it all the time because I need to remember this shit.
Hey, look, I had to be told many times over.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, I guess my answer to your question would be, why did he do it? It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real answer. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't, does it? It fucking doesn't, does it?
You know,
it doesn't.
Yeah. What you know, if you can, you know, yeah. What's it going to give you? What's it honestly going to give you?
And do you know what shits me about that, though? The fact that I was able, so in 2016, shit went down with my family, and my mum's no longer in my life, right? And because I had to deal with a lot of the fallout from it, from my mum's siblings and supporting my dad and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I just went straight into exactly what you said. I don't care what the justification is for the horrendous way that she went about the things she did. I'm having to pick up the pieces here. So finding out what the justification is actually not going to heal me, is not going to change the situation that I had to go through and the things I had to learn and the shit I had to do. So that's her problem. So it's interesting that I was able to quickly take that stance with my fucking mother.
Right.
But the question sometimes still very occasionally now, obviously more when my ex and I first broke up, but that question still sometimes goes, I don't get it, because I was look, my anger was not in control yet, but the only reason I would get angry with him was because I was pushed to breaking point of not being able to communicate and him shutting off from me 90% of the time. So I only get to, and I don't get angry anymore because, as in like screamy angry, even though Italians are known for that. I don't get to that point anymore unless I'm on stage reenacting something, but that's different. I don't get to that point in my life anymore because it takes too much energy. I can't do it.
I hear that.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's not effective. It's not a good form of communication. So yeah. God, these tangents, man.
That's man. Look, if the nuances of a relationship were easy, we'd all be fucking doing it, right? Like or everybody be doing it all over the place is really what I mean. Like, I definitely still ain't got my shit figured out. So, but I'm actively working. You know, actively working on it. So.
But don't you think, Aaron, Don't you think that the fact that you and I are both aware that we are still evolving and putting the pieces together, so to speak, of who we are and choosing to delve into the depths of who we are to become the best version of ourselves, in inverted commas, or however you want to phrase it. Yeah. Don't you think that means we are more likely to attract somebody that is willing to be a team rather than two halves creating a whole, and that because we know that joy, happiness, all that kind of stuff is our own fucking responsibility, don't you think there's a higher possibility that the right jigsaw puzzle
is going to be coming your way?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's it's the energy you put out is what you get back for sure. And again, kind of what we were talking about before, you teach people how to treat you. And at a certain point, once we get good at practicing that, which I'm still fucking practicing and having a hard time with, but like once we get so good at it, you'll find that your space and your circle has less and less of the things you don't want and more of what you do.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes. You know what I mean? It's simply how it goes. Something I always tell anybody who asks me about, like, I want to like be in music and I want to do this and what do I do? There's no roadmap to this shit. But I imagine if you investigate and put yourself in certain circles, get yourself around certain individuals, you'll learn more, you'll do more, your energy will change, and it will be geared towards doing the do. I gotta think it's the same way with finding a partner.
Yeah. I agree.
That's just what I think.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of The Catchalorette and Friends. Make sure you follow the podcast at The Catchalorette Pod on Instagram. And if you think your love journey is worth sharing with me on the podcast, send me an email, thecatchalorettepod@gmail.com, or slide into my Instagram DMs. Oh, and don't forget to give the podcast a review and tell all your motherfucking people to listen to the show. Now let's get back to this episode.
I would say two things. Get responsible.
Yeah.
And get brave enough to ask for what you want.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And the two are actually like the perfect pairing. If you have the ability to be responsible, not blame yourself for all the shit, but get responsible about it. The analogy that I always use with people is, it's changed since COVID happened and the world is different. But the analogy that I always use is it's the difference between, being out in public or on a train or something and sneezing and not covering your mouth. Covering your mouth. Nobody's going to say, before, again, this is pre-COVID. No one's going to say, stay home if you have allergies. Don't fucking come outside. But because you're going to sneeze. That doesn't mean you should be restricted to your room. Different rules now. But being responsible is covering your mouth, knowing that you will sneeze.
Yeah.
As to not get your shit on other people. Don't use other people to work your shit out.
I love it. It's nobody else's responsibility but your own.
It's not fair. Yeah. Other people are not an opportunity to work your shit out. Get responsible about it. And then get brave enough to ask for the things that you want. Ladies, if you want a man who is willing to get married in 5 years, that's a conversation you need to ask for or not ask for. That's a conversation you need to have. And you have to be able to ask for that. Hey, this is what I want. It's not necessarily up to them to give it to you, but they can't if they don't know.
Yeah.
They can't. Men get honest about what you want. If you don't want to be committed and if you want an open relationship, you need to say that. And if it doesn't work out, you need to be with that or be willing to change. Get honest about what you want and be willing to ask for it.
I love that.
I said too much.
I love it so much. So good.
That's what I would say.
So fucking glorious. Thank you, Aaron. This has been such a joy. Thank you for your time. It's been great. And thank you for unpacking so much shit with me. It's been really good.
Sure. I'm happy to talk and chat. I said a lot of big things in here. Of course, there's a lot more that goes to it, but for sure, yeah, I think those things are really important, man.
Oh shit!
Like forgiving yourself.
Yes. Can you tell people where to find you on the socials?
On the socials, yes. My name is Aaron Boykin. You can find me anywhere on Facebook, Instagram, my Insta handle. I don't even know what you call it. That's how old I am.
The Insta handle, you're right.
Yeah, it's Holla at Your Boykin. Yeah, you can catch me with my band. You can catch me doing my own stuff. You can catch me out there hosting. You can catch me doing it all. So I'm out there.
Fucking excellent, everybody. Get on board. Get on board.
Thanks, lady. I appreciate it.
The Catchalorette with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catchalorette and friends. See you next time if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.